Laura Lee Schmidt is the East Coast Assistant Regional Coordinator for the Platypus Affiliated Society and an editor of the Platypus Review. She has a master's degree from MIT in the Aga Khan Program for Islamic Architecture, and she will continue her graduate work as a PhD student in Harvard's History of Science program very soon. Laura Lee Schmidt.
Thank you, World Can't Wait, for helping host this conversation with Platypus. Platypus formed in 2006 as the anti-Iraq war movement drew to a close. Founding members recognized that the main role that anti-US imperialism played was to hide the left's own helplessness during the movement. Learning from the largely affirmative response of the left to the Islamic Revolution in Iran that installed a political regime founded on religion, Platypus understood the left had degenerated to the point of proving itself amenable to Islamism. The Iraq War helped us think about the problems of the left then, the problems and even impossibility of being a leftist. This Arab Spring, set to perhaps expire in summer, seems like a new opportunity to reveal the old limitations. In 2006, on the 5th anniversary of 9/11, former editorial board member of the New Left Review and specialist of the Middle East, Fred Halliday, wrote that the popular notion that Islamism is aimed against the West reveals just how much more damaging a half-truth can be than an outright lie. Halliday meant that this Islamist platform in global politics benefited from CIA or imperialist support against the political left and still constitutes an assault on it. Although its current reliance on anti-Western or anti-imperialist pomposity may have a veneer of truth, by politically opposing liberal rights such as secularism and sexual freedom, Islamism does not merely offend the left's sensibilities, it rejoices in a world without a left. Our unwillingness to acknowledge this means maintaining the lie that the left has played a merely incidental role in history, that it functions as a mere commentator. Recognizing the attenuation of the left would help one understand just how much the world needs it. The perplexing tendency of the left to actually identify with Islamist movements does not make Halliday wrong. It was instead his starting point for diagnosing some serious problems on the left after September 11th dealt the death blow to a left that had been in mutiny for a while. If the left is to exist, it must be able to recognize why and how its existence is threatened. Although it has never been monolithic, since the 18th century, the left has defined itself by qualities like the struggle for a free society, free press, support for liberal rights. To threaten the right to this struggle is to threaten humanity itself. But why begin here? That the left has supported Islamists in the past is not reason alone to give up on it. It is a lie that the unholy marriage of Islamism and the left is a logical result of their compatible ideology. Rather, it's the result of the left's decline, which has both rendered it impotent as well as changed the world for the worse. The left represented the spectrum of ideas of anarchists, communists, Marxists, and even bourgeois liberals. Not a correct or incorrect judgment. It changed shapes and did not ever rely on solidarity to exist, but upon difference of opinion to thrive. But a brief overview of the left's response to the Arab Spring shows how much the left now settles for half-truths. What loosely defined the left this Arab Spring was its good faith in the democratic struggles. There was speculation since the forced abdication of Ben Ali in Tunisia that Islamist factions might swoop down in place of opposition movements. Then this concern was refuted or superseded as the news media and the left alike emphasized the popular character of the movements when Mubarak was ousted. Other early questions of the movement included, why in Tunisia? Why in Egypt? Who saw this coming and what now? What about the vacuum of leadership? As the left loses interest in these questions of democracy and instead aims its sights at US imperialism in Libya, the question of Islamism could still loom, even if it's not emphasized. Perhaps it ignores the left, that is, that in Libya, rebels are ideologically blank slates, thrust into a position that might prove to be reactionary by necessity. By 1994, political scientist Francois Bourgat concluded his essay on Gaddafi's ideology with the observation that, quote, in all likelihood, the group capable of mounting a replacement for Gaddafi's system will be the country's Islamists. The Arab Spring is not a zero-sum game. The left's predictions, reports, or unfortunately even its protest, will not fill the vacuum of leadership, lack of opposition parties, and will not remedy imperialist policies. This is why the left is inadequate to deal with the present crisis, and partially why we in Platypus say that the left is dead. But its corpse, something that is dead cannot help explain anything. But its corpse, the corpse of the left, can be used for necromancy, puppetry, or to fuel the half-truth of its own existence. Islamism and US imperialism are both indefensible. But if two things are defined by the same quality, the dichotomy is false. This question is a burial relic in the left's tomb from a time when these disagreements had actual political consequences. The left has played a much greater role in history than it gives itself credit for. It plays a role in history of capital. Capital presents the possibility of liberal individual freedoms, and through